So I would like first to start by welcoming the representative of the press. This year we have a much bigger representation of the press with several representatives from France, from Equidia, from Paris-Turf, Jour de Galop, Course Élevage, Turfcom, La Semaine du Vétérinaire. We have representatives from Germany, from Dutch Sport Verlag, Great Britain, the Racing Post, Ireland, the Irish Field, Japan, YU Magazine, South America, La Nation from Argentina, El País from Uruguay, Tunisia, La Presse de Tunisie, UAE from Al Khayat, and USA, CNN, Daily Racing Form, and Thoroughbred Daily News. So it's clearly the biggest representation we ever had from the press. And on top of that, starting from now, this session is live on internet with certainly at least 1 billion viewers. That's my personal estimation, and nobody will be able to say the contrary. So we will start because we have a lot of presentation in this open forum. And the first reports we are going to have are the two reports we have from our developing countries representatives at the Council, which are for EMHF, the European and Mediterranean Horseracing Federation. The first one to start will be our Vice Chairman, who is also Chairman of EMHF, Brian KAVANAGH. Please, Brian.
Thank you, Louis, and thank you, Bertrand and Hubert, for a wonderful day's racing yesterday. It was wonderful to see such a great filly win the Arc. A brief report on the work of the EMHF over the last year. The EMHF was founded in Stockholm in 2010, and as you know, represents the racing authorities of 23 countries in the European and Mediterranean region. Last summer, Holland became our newest member. The membership includes larger racing and breeding countries such as Britain, France and Ireland, as well as smaller developing countries such as Morocco, Hungary and the Czech Republic. Overall, this region accounts for 23% of the foals born in the world, 20% of the races run in the world, and 27.5% of betting on racing in the world. Based on end-of-season handicappers' ratings, 11 of the world's top 15 flat races in 2012 were run in the region. The main objective of the Federation is to develop relations between the racing authorities in the region and to ensure that the more developed countries provide support and guidance to emerging racing nations. EMHF promotes racing and seeks to defend its integrity and also represents the interests of horse racing where necessary before the European Union bodies. EMHF has formally met twice over the last year. We had a successful General Assembly in Madrid in January, hosted by the Spanish Racing Authority, forgive my Spanish, the Sociedad de Fomento de la Cría Cabello de España. 15 of the 21 member countries were present, as well as an observer from Azerbaijan. As well as the normal business of a General Assembly, excellent presentations were delivered by Nick Attenborough, who's the Consumer Director of Racing for Change in Great Britain, and Faina Zurita Duizia, the president of La Zarzuela Racetrack, on the theme of racing in times of economic adversity. One of the main things the EMHF does is to try and create a program of practical seminars where the larger racing countries, such as Britain, France, Ireland and Germany, can help benefit the smaller member countries where racing is on a smaller scale. As you know, over the years, Germany in 2011 hosted a very interesting handicappers seminar. Britain hosted one in April 2012 on race day regulation. This year in May, we saw the latest of these seminars when France Gallo hosted a two-day event on anti-doping policy. In January, Ireland will host a seminar on medical matters, as we heard earlier. There's a great need for harmonisation in a number of issues relating to medical issues, jockeys issues, and that sort of thing. And later on in the year, Britain, Weatherby's will host a seminar on practical administration of racing and breeding. And then it's intended towards the end of the year that Germany, the Directorium, will bring together the work that's been going on harmonisation of rules throughout the region. As I said, the anti-doping seminar in May 10 countries were represented: Austria, Belgium, Hungary, Lithuania, Morocco, Norway, Poland, Sweden, Switzerland and Turkey. And the attendance included stewards, included racing chemists, vets, administrators and lawyers. In July, the Executive Council met in Budapest. The issue of anabolic steroids was the main topic on the agenda, and we reached unanimous support for the proposed IFHA stance on banning these substances in racing and training. That position will be communicated to the Executive Council of the IFHA at the meeting tomorrow. The Council also considered the different tax treatment of prize money in the various racing jurisdictions and is now working towards a harmonised policy. A new Executive Council was elected for the Federation with a good regional spread and a mix of small and larger countries. The term of office for this Council will run until June 2016. I'm also pleased to advise that Bjorn Eklund, who was the driving force behind the establishment of the EMHF, was also elected as life President of the Federation at this meeting. The EMHF website has now mapped out the whereabouts of all racecourses in the European and Mediterranean region which stages gallop racing and their fixtures. It is the only resource where this information can be found. The Federation has also given assistance to several countries to elevate the status of their races and to secure international recognition. We supported Spain's successful application for a number of its races to be upgraded to international listed status. And as you heard earlier, we've assisted Hungary in its application for inclusion in Part 3 of the International Cataloguing Standards Book. An important objective of the EMHF is to encourage as many countries in our region to sign up fully to the articles of the International Agreement on Racing and Breeding. Paul Kahn has started a process with countries who have not signed up to certain articles or have only partially done so. This approach has already met with success, and we've found that by explaining the meaning and requirements of an article, countries can often sign up. The process will continue with the objective of achieving harmonisation of as many articles and practices as possible in the region. The majority of members of the Federation are also members of the EU, and we have a standing subcommittee to ensure that the key messages of the racing industry across Europe are conveyed to the political decision makers in Brussels. The EMHF has fielded experts at various EU workshops, and they have conveyed racing's case effectively. In July, we issued a statement strongly welcoming the decision of the European Commission that the French parafiscal levy on online betting was compatible with the EU single market. This is a very important precedent for many other European countries. I'm happy to say that interest in joining the EMHF is strong. Since last year's conference, our membership has risen by 2 from 21 to 23 countries, with the addition of Ukraine and the Netherlands, and we're in discussion with a number of other countries about their possible membership. Lastly, Chairman, I could not let the work of the Federation pass without acknowledging the enormous contribution that is made by our Secretary-General, Paul Kahn. We're very grateful to Weatherby's for providing Paul's services to the Federation free of charge, and he has transformed the way that the Federation operates. Paul has a passion and enthusiasm for his work, and he's established very positive working relations with Jacques Chartier and Jean-Pierre Kratzner of the European Trotting Federation, and together they are addressing many areas of common concern between the two codes. The next General Assembly of EMHF is due to be held in Morocco on Saturday, the 1st of February 2014, and the next Executive Council meeting will be in Istanbul on the 30th of June next year, the day after the Ghazi Derby. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. As you've seen it, the Federation is working very well, very efficient, and I can testify that the seminars also are a great success. We organized this seminar on anti-doping control in France this year, following a lot of other seminars that have been organized, and they were an outstanding success. And congratulations to Brian and Paul, because it was not easy to get 23 countries, and thank you to Bjorn, who initiated the concept of this conference, who finally was transformed into a regional federation. So we will now move to Asia, and we will have a report from YU Pang Fey, who is the chairman of the special body for developing racing jurisdictions in Asia.
Good morning, delegates, ladies and gentlemen. My brief report on the development of racing in Asia will cover the following areas: new affiliate membership, especially Turkmenistan and Mongolia, the Asian Startbook Conference, Iran, Korea's first international race. In December 2012, the Asia Racing Federation Executive Council endorsed the Turkmen Artillery State Association as an affiliate member of the ARF. Turkmenistan is the home of the beautiful Akal horse, which is one of the most ancient of horse breeds in the world. In the past 2 years, 5 equestrian complexes have been built and an existing complex reconstructed in Turkmenistan, all of them to very high standards. This season, more than 400 horses took part in flat races in Turkmenistan. In addition, there are also nearly 150 purebred stallions and nearly 700 mares in Turkmenistan. All these point to a healthy racing and equine industry. Turkmenistan aims to emulate the standards of organizing flat races that are found in IFHA countries. I visited Turkmenistan in April this year as a representative of the IFHA Executive Council. I found the facilities to be impressive and of high standards. The races were also well organized and well run. I am sure Turkmenistan is well on the way to further developing flat racing in that country. We wish them all the very best, and accordingly, the ARF is supporting Turkmenistan's application for IFHA affiliate membership, which will be considered by the IFHA Executive Council tomorrow. The important role of the horse in Mongolia's history is well known. To this day, horse ownership, riding, and horse racing festivals play a central role in Mongolian society. For example, in August this year, 2 remarkable world records were achieved in Mongolia. First, the biggest parade of horses comprising more than 11,000 horses and riders. And this was followed by the most number of runners in a race, 4,289 of them. Truly remarkable.
No starting gates.
All the necessary conditions seem to be present for the successful development of thoroughbred racing in Mongolia, and as such, the ARF Executive Council had granted associate membership to the ARF to the Federation of Mongolia Horse Racing Sport and Trainers in 2010. Now, this federation has also recently provided a progress report on the construction of a new thoroughbred racecourse in Mongolia and the new Mongolian rules of racing, which came into effect in September 2012. In view of this, the ARF is pleased to support Mongolia's application for IFHA affiliate membership, which will be considered by the IFHA Executive Council tomorrow. I am pleased to report that there is keen interest in Iran to rebuild and grow its thoroughbred racing industry. The ARF will be monitoring the situation in Iran and, when appropriate, will assess Iran for affiliate membership of the ARF. Since 1993, Japan and India have been the joint chairs of the Asia Startbook Conference. The Asian Startbook Conference meets during each Asian Racing Conference, the next one of which will be held in Hong Kong in May 2014. I am pleased to report that India has volunteered to work with Kuwait to establish its own Startbook. Satish Iyer, the registrar of the Startbook of India, visited Kuwait for this purpose and is generously sharing his knowledge and expertise in this area. Likewise, Japan is also currently assisting Mongolia to establish its own Startbook. Recent developments in Korea are excellent illustrations of the progress in racing that we would like to see throughout the region. I am referring to the SBS ESPN Korea-Japan Goodwill Cup, which was run in Seoul Racecourse on 1st December. This was Korea's first ever international race, whereby Japanese horses from Ohi Racecourse in Tokyo were invited to compete against Korean horses. I had the pleasure of representing the ARF at this event, and I was impressed with the facilities and organization of the race. The race itself was won by a Japanese horse, followed very closely by Korean horses in second, third, and fourth positions. Our congratulations to the Korea Racing Authority for successfully holding its inaugural international race, and we wish them more success in the future. The return leg of this international exchange will be at the Ohi Racecourse in Tokyo on the 26th of November. In conclusion, I would like to say that the ARF is making very good progress in continuing to expand racing's footprint in the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, in agreement with you and Wingfin, I would like to mention a meeting that was organized in Inner Mongolia. Inner Mongolia is an autonomous region of mainland China. And there was a private initiative from the China Horse Club with a private lifestyle business and thoroughbred racing club to organize an equine festival, which was a platform for the municipality of Hot to showcase and communicate with the international world. This meeting was supported by the Hot Sports Bureau and the Inner Mongolia government. The rules of racing were drawn by our previous racing director, Thierry Delègue, with the support of France Gallo, and in full accordance with the guidelines of IFHA. There was a lot of international partners, including France Gallo, the Irish Turf Club, Singapore Turf Club, Randwick Equine Center, Coolmore, Arcana, the Inner Mongolia Agricultural University, and others. The principal sponsors were Longines and the Pengsing Group, who is involved in areas as real estate, modern agriculture, food production, and equity management. There was 8 races, 4 for international runners and 4 for local horses, with a total prize money of 3.6 million RMB, which is around 430,000 euros. 39 horses came from abroad for the 4 international races, including 21 from Australia, 14 from Coolmore in Ireland, 4 from France, and Coolmore won 3 races and Australia 1. There was 12 international jockeys, 5 from Australia, 3 from South Africa, 1 from Brazil, 1 from France, 1 from Great Britain, and 1 from Malaysia. And what is very interesting is that all officials were from foreign countries. There was a panel of stewards from 3 different jurisdictions from the first time ever, 1 from Ireland, 1 from Singapore, and 1 from France. And what is interesting is that they had some work to do because there was a fall in one of the races for local horses and local jockeys, and they suspended the jockey for 2 weeks. And I think there was no racing during that 2 weeks. So it was a hard penalty. The starter was from the Irish Turf Club. The clerk of the scales was from Singapore Turf Club. There was 3 stall handlers from France Gallo and 2 from Macau. The veterinary officer was from Australia, and the timekeeper was Longines. So it was a unique experience of international cooperation based on a totally private initiative with the support of local government authorities and racing authorities from Europe and Asia and big international breeders. The following day, I attended a groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of by the Pengsing Group of the future Hot Equestrian Center, including a racecourse and a breeding farm. It is a very impressive global project, and the racecourse should be completed by 2017, which will be the 70th anniversary of the autonomous region of Inner Mongolia, with the second biggest region in China, with 1.2 kilometers square meters, twice the size of France, and a population of 24 million people. As I told them in the international symposium, and I totally agree with Winfried on this, we now need a central racing authority in China to coordinate all these private initiatives, as the two present bodies, CEA and CHIA, presently do not fulfill that role. And so it is very important if we want to see a real development of racing in China with a real program of meetings, that there is a central authority defining the global rules that can be then applied to support local and provincial initiatives. But you see some photos with my friend Mr. Capelli, who will join us in some time. It was a very interesting experience of international cooperation, even if nothing was perfect, as you could imagine in such circumstances. So we will now move to the following item, which is the item that is taken care by Andrew Harding, concerning his update on the intellectual property rights issue and some news on the very important AI court case in Australia. Andrew Harding, please.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, going back some time, I made several presentations on legal matters, and I attempted to start them by telling a lawyer joke, something that caricatures lawyers as nasty, without ethics, greedy. But I soon came to the realisation that there was a very substantial problem with this. Those lawyers who were present in the audience didn't think the jokes were funny, and those non-lawyers in the audience didn't think they were jokes. In those circumstances, I'll go straight to the subject matter.
The top button.
Recapping briefly, at last year's conference, I examined the role that intellectual property rights might be able to play in achieving a fair return to racing from wagering. Narrowing the scope of the inquiry to what might be described as race fields, 4 avenues were considered: copyright as a literary work, Europe's sui generis database protection, Europe's harmonised copyright protection to databases, and finally, achieving an equivalent outcome to a property rights-based remedy by an alternative means, such as race fields legislation. Looking at the first, compilations or lists of information such as race fields may be viewed as an original work of authorship, but the answer to this will vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction according to whether they accept the sweat of the brow doctrine. The sui generis database right was introduced in 1996. On the face of this, it was the perfect remedy for sporting organisations afflicted by betting operations using their lists of sporting fixtures without authorisation. However, the European Court of Justice decision in BHP and William Hill closed, indeed slammed the door closed on this. There is a second limb to the database directive, a European-wide copyright in databases. This has only recently been given judicial attention in the matter of Football Data Co versus Yahoo and others. A frisson of hope was sparked when, at first instance, Justice Floyd held that copyright in football fixtures subsisted because of the complex and time-consuming process involved in their creation. The English Court of Appeal was not necessarily convinced and referred a number of questions to the European Court of Justice. The European Court's answers were highly restrictive, but when I addressed you last year, it remained for the Court of Appeal to apply the ECJ's interpretation to the evidence before it. In November last year, the matter was brought to finality when the English and Scottish football leagues conceded to the court that they did not have rights in the fixture lists. In the hearing, they suggested that they might find a way to create fixture lists in a new mode in the future, one which attracted copyright protection. However, they were unable to advance in the hearing any methodology that would achieve that outcome. For the sake of completeness, it may be noted that earlier this year, the football leagues have enjoyed success in one intellectual property rights claim against bookmakers. In this litigation, Football Data Co sought to protect its Football Live database. As its name implies, Football Live contains live data about matches in the English and Scottish football leagues, including information about the goals scored, penalties, player substitutions and the like. This data is live in the sense that it is updated in real time while matches are being played. Collecting the data involves substantial investment by Football Data Co, which employs football analysts, mainly former professional footballers, to attend every match in both leagues. The analysts provide a running commentary by telephone to sports information processors, who input the information into the database. In the proceedings, Football Data Co estimated the annual cost of this operation at approximately £600,000. Football Data Co's copyright claims were dismissed by the UK Court of Appeal in March of 2011. The court held that Football Data Co did not have an arguable copyright claim on the basis that what was taken from Football Live was merely data and did not involve any intellectual creation. Recording that data may have involved some skill, but it was not creative skill. However, they have now succeeded in claiming protection under the sui generis database right. In February of this year, the English Court of Appeal found that there had been a substantial investment by Football Data Co in collecting, recording and organising the data generated by the football matches. The relevant investment was not in the creation of the data, even though the data was recorded in Football Live for the first time. Where does this leave us? Within Europe, the sui generis database right is a dead letter for racing. And so now too is the harmonised copyright protection for databases. Outside Europe, the scope for copyright to be used does exist in some countries. Racefield's legislation emerges as the strongest potential remedy. I have received inquiries from several countries interested in exploring this option, and I'm available to assist anyone here who has a similar interest. Finally, I will report on the most recent developments in the Australian legal challenge to the ban on artificial insemination. This was initiated in 2009 on two grounds: that it was a breach of the competition laws and that it had the effect of substantially lessening competition in the markets for breeding, racing and selling of racehorses, and that it was in breach of the doctrine of the restraint of trade. In September 2011, a 6-week hearing commenced with evidence taken from some 40 witnesses. 12 months later, the judge at first instance handed down a lengthy judgment dismissing the challenge. Though he was beyond the time allowed for this, in April this year, the plaintiff was permitted to lodge an appeal to the full court of the Federal Court. A 3-day hearing of the appeal will take place in February 2014. A judgment might be expected by the end of the year. What happens thereafter can only be speculated upon. In the Australian legal system, the final avenue of appeal is to the High Court. But that requires the court to grant special leave, requiring that the matter involves a question of law that is of public importance. If this path is successfully pursued by any of the parties, then the matter is not likely to reach finality until the end of 2016. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Andrew. I think it is a very, very important topic, and these updates were very interesting. So please do not hesitate on this rights issue to liaise directly with Andrew for the Federation, the person who has clearly the best knowledge of all the situations which are happening around the world. So can you please now make the announcement for your conference?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the generous opportunity that you've given us to share with you some of the information about our forthcoming conference. On behalf of the Chief Executive Officer of the Hong Kong Jockey Club and the Board of Stewards, it is my pleasure to invite all of you to attend the Asian Racing Conference that will be held in Hong Kong in May of next year. This is the third occasion on which we've hosted an Asian racing conference. Our first was in 1978, and we followed up in 1991. The growth path of Hong Kong racing in the 20 or so years since then is a story in itself, and we're eager to show you what has been created there. All the more so because 2014 marks the 130th anniversary of the club. Those of you who have attended an Asian racing conference in the past will know that our discussions are genuinely global, and we therefore welcome participants from right around the world. To give you the best flavour of what you might expect if you come and join us, I'm going to show you a short video.
Very professional as usual. So I think it is, as you all know, those who have been there, it is the biggest gathering of racing authorities in numbers around the world, with people coming from all Asia, including owners, breeders. It's something like 800 people, if I'm right, about that. So I really encourage you to go there. It's always very professionally organized by the Asian Racing Federation, and it's a great gathering with a 3 days conference. And I'm sure we'll have also some top racing and social activities as usual when we go to Hong Kong. And there is also today another important announcement, which is brand new and which personally I'm welcoming it because I've been looking for it. And I will ask Marcel ZAROUR, the president of OSAF, to make this announcement. Marcel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. At the 2012 International Federation of Racing meeting in Paris, and the origin of the IFHA Executive Committee, representatives from the United States and South America discussed the prospect of creating a joint organization that could promote racing and breeding in North and South America. Strive for the establishment of uniform regulation and host a biannual conference for its members, as well as racing executive management and other leaders, similar to the Racing, Asian Racing Conference. Since the initial meeting, Horacio Esposito, International Advisor for OSAF, and I have worked with the United States Jockey Club President Jim Galliano and other key personnel of the Jockey Club to draft organizational documents to begin the Pan American Racing Association. The Pan American Racing Association will consist of racing organizations, horsemen groups, breeders, and stud books from North America, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. As from this signature of this agreement that joins Northern and Southern America, our continent has become the world leader in terms of annual thoroughbreds volume. Latin American Racing Channel, LARC, also working with the Jockey Club, are planning the first Pan American Conference in New York City on Wednesday, June 3, 2015, through Saturday, June 6, 2015. The conference will be held biannually, and the first meeting could coincide with the 2000 Belmont Stakes. Information about this event will be distributed in the near future, and we formally invite all of you in attendance today to place the date of this important event on your calendar. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you, Marcel, and congratulations. I think it is a very important announcement to have this Pan American Association with North, South America, Central America, and the Caribbean. I can already tell you, Marcel and Jim, that if you want somebody to speak on the medication issue, I will be available. But I'm very glad to hear that news. I think it's a big news for racing. It means that we will have now, with the Asian Racing Federation, the EMHF, European Horseracing Mediterranean Federation, and the Pan American Association, the world is organized, and that will facilitate the decision process within IFHA. Because clearly IFHA cannot address issues which are very sensitive in some continents directly, while together probably you can make a lot of progress. So congratulations, Marcel and Jim, and we will be there in New York in 2015 for the conference. So next, we're going to have a presentation from our Vice Chairman, Brian KAVANAGH, who has prepared some reflection on quality control of group and graded races. Brian is not only the Vice Chairman of IFHA, he's a member of IRPAC, he's also the Chairman of the European Patent Committee, and we welcome his views on this very important issue for the Federation. Brian.
That's where my glasses were.
The green one.
Thank you, Chairman. In the 20 years since Vintage Crop's groundbreaking success in the Melbourne Cup, the racing and bloodstock business has truly become a global affair. Racehorses routinely travel from one country to another to compete, and stallions are regularly shuttled from the northern to the southern hemisphere and vice versa. Racing from one continent is now broadcast and followed on other continents, and this will only accelerate into the future. The world has indeed become a smaller place. The World Thoroughbred Rankings are now sponsored by Longines and are published 10 times a year, and the most recent set of rankings, which of course are hopelessly out of date, Louis, after yesterday, which were published in mid-September, simply emphasise the global nature of our sport. The top 10 horses and equals in the September rankings comprise horses trained in 7 different countries and bred in 6 different countries. In a relatively short space of time, we have moved to global World Thoroughbred Rankings, and the 2012 classifications included horses from South America for the first time. This reflects great progress, and credit is due to the Handicappers Group for the work in which they have done to enable comparisons to be made between horses from different continents. Globalization brings its own challenges and opportunities, and nowhere is this more evident than in the area of quality control of group and graded races. The IFHA website describes one of the fundamental aims of the Federation as the organisation of competitions to select the best horses in order to improve the quality of the breed. This is considered to be such an important issue that the very first article in the International Agreement on Racing and Breeding deals with group, graded and listed races. In addition to identifying the best quality races throughout the world and the horses that compete in those races, there's a very significant commercial dimension to all of this, as the grading of races determines the black type which horses can carry under their pedigree in a sales catalogue. Group designators for races were inaugurated first in 1971 in Europe and in 1973 in the US and Canada. Article 1 of the international agreement allows racing authorities to categorise the best races in their country as group or grade 1 races, and then down group 2, group 3 and listed races. Each year, the US Jockey Club publishes the International Cataloguing Standards book in association with the IFHA. These standards and statistics are maintained by IRPAC, and that's the International Grading and Race Planning Advisory Committee, and have the approval of CETA, which is the Society of Thoroughbred Auctioneers. Carl gave you an update this morning on the work on the meeting of IRPAC on Saturday. IRPAC is chaired by Carl Hamilton of the US Jockey Club, and it contains representatives of each of the regional grading committees, the chairman and vice chairman of CETA, and representatives of breeders' associations from America, Europe and Asia. The Blue Book is a very important book because it provides a full listing for each year of the stakes races worldwide that will be accorded graded or listed status in sales catalogues published by the major international auction houses. The listing of a race can also have implications for whether a horse is qualified for certain races and the weight which it must carry in those races. The 2013 Blue Book shows that last year there were 1,882 graded races and 4,900 black type races in total, out of a total of 150,000 races run worldwide. I hope you can see that on the screen, but the book analyses the races by country. It analyses what part of the book the country falls into or the races fall into. It analyses the number of foals for each country, the number of individual starters, the number of flat races, the number of graded races, and then the number of overall black type races. As you can see, there's a total of 4,900 black type races. The book then divides these races into 4 categories: Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and Part 4. And that determines the quality of the black type that's offered in a catalogue. So for example, a country or a race in Part 1, the first 3 in that race will receive black type in a catalogue. The winners receive uppercase black type, the placed horses receive lowercase black type, and they show the group designator of the race after the black type. Likewise, for Part 2 races, the first 3 receive black type, but there's no group designator shown. For those races and countries in Part 3, there's no black type attached to the winners of those races in sales catalogues, and the group and grades are only recognised in that country. And for Part 4 countries, Part 4 deals with national hunt races, and those races are listed in catalogues in italic form. Since 1985, black type is only awarded to the first 3 finishers in graded or listed races. Prior to that, it was also granted to the 4th place finisher. Given that one of the fundamental objectives of the IFHA is the selection of the best horses and the improvement of the breed, a system of quality control over these best races is important. The IFHA to this point has encouraged a regional approach towards quality control, and IRPAC issues guidelines to racing authorities to determine where particular races should be placed in the Blue Book. These guidelines require countries to have a committee or a group that oversees or overviews its graded races in that country or in that region. It requires that all group or graded races must be open to international competition. It requires each country to have a specific process to assess the quality of their races. It requires that upgrades must be justified by the quality of the runners, and it requires that races not meeting the relevant quality must be downgraded. The regional authorities that are recognised by IRPAC for determining group and graded status are listed in front of you: the European Pattern Race Committee, the American Graded Stakes Committee, the Jockey Club of Canada, while in Asia and OSAF, the regional associations both review lists submitted by the member countries. Much progress has been made under this structure, and in a relatively short space of time, we've moved to global world thoroughbred rankings. Countries such as Japan and Turkey have substantially reduced their pattern race program in order to make their racing more open to international competition and to allow races from those countries to move from one part of the Blue Book to another. A very positive development, as Louis said earlier, has been the phased integration of South American racing into the Handicappers Group and the establishment of a South American Graded Committee, which will meet for the first time in November. This now means that all the major regions in the world will have developed quality control mechanisms for overseeing their racing. So how is quality control actually enforced throughout the world? Using horses' ratings is the most common way of identifying the status of a group and graded race. Usually a 3-year rolling average of the first 4 finishers in a race is taken. However, in the majority of cases, countries also use other criteria to assess quality. These include prize money levels, black type performances, quality of the runners in the race, all the runners, not just the placed horses, the other black type races in the country, the field size that a race achieves each year, and the overall shape of a country's pattern. So now that we have a global set of rankings and with increased international nature of our sport, we can now consider some fundamental questions. These are often asked from time to time by journalists, by ourselves, by trainers. Are there too many black type races in the world? The statistics would suggest that that's not the case. 150,000 flat races were run last year. 1,882 of these were graded in Part 1 of the Blue Book. That's 1.25%. And the total number of black type races were 3.25%. Second question to consider is how have the number of black type races moved in relation to the trends in foal population and race numbers worldwide? As Paul Greaves said earlier, the foal crops have fallen in recent years. Between 1982 and 2012, the world foal population dropped by 9% from 106,000 to 96,000. And the number of flat races has fallen from 155,000 to 150,000 by 3.75%. In that time, however, the number of graded races and the number of black type races has increased by 6.5% and 5%. So while foal crops have fallen and the number of races have fallen, the number of graded races has increased slightly. The next question to be asked is, are there anomalies in the system whereby races are carrying a particular grading in one country or region, but would not merit the same grading in another region? That schedule shows the graded races that will be run in 2013, analysed by country. And without doubt, there are anomalies in this listing, and they need to be addressed as the global rankings evolve, particularly in the area of 2-year-old racing, where the regional breakdown shows that there's 15 Group 1 races for 2-year-olds in Asia, 20 Group 1 races for 2-year-olds in South America, 14 in Europe, and 16 in the USA. As we saw in Europe with the Italian Derby, these can be sensitive decisions, difficult decisions, but in my opinion, they're absolutely necessary to uphold the integrity of our race grading and sales cataloguing system, and to be fair to countries like Japan and Turkey that have already significantly reduced their programme. The good news is that under the auspices of IFHA, all regions are now actively looking at the gradings of their races. South America have initiated a 3-year programme to rigidly assess the quality of their races and look at the quality of the pattern. Kieran Kennelly has been appointed as chairman of a South American grading committee, and each of the South American countries now has their own grading committee and is working actively in this area. These are all problems, but they're good problems. They're problems as a result of progress, and they're problems as a result of a global set of world rankings. The Asian Pattern Race Committee was similarly established 2 years ago, and that is now operating on a similar time frame to assess the quality of black type races in Asia. Another question that's often asked is there a case for a separate category of Super Group 1 races? That's a listing of the 3 highest rated, of the highest ranking races in the world last year. And the 3 highest in the world were the Champion Stakes at Ascot, the Breeders' Cup Mile, and the Qatar Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, with an average rating of 125.42, 123.83, and 123.75. That's £10 above the criteria for a Group 1 race. With Group 2 and Group 3 races, there's a £5 range for races, whereas for Group 1 races, there's no limit to that. These races carry the exact same classification in sales catalogues as any other Group 1 race in Part 1 of the Blue Book, including some whose ratings are many pounds below those races. As the system of grading evolves, there may be a case for a higher category of races which could recognise the absolute elite races that are run around the world. Louis, I'm sure you'll be pleased to hear that I'm sure the ARC will be back up in #1 next year after yesterday's running. It's interesting, it just shows the impact of one bad running of a race, which happened last year for various reasons in the ARC, because horses didn't run or horses were locked up in Germany or horses were injured before the race. It drags the ratings down for a period of time. But this method does assess the overall quality of the races over a long-term period. Two other questions which I would ask is, one is in the area of medication, and this is not really a race grading or quality control issue, but it's more a policy question. And I would just ask, is it credible in the future to offer the same grading and the same black type status for races that are run under different medication rules? One of the most frequent comments you hear is that a more liberal medication regime weakens the breed. Yet there's no reflection of this at all in sales catalogues, which is the most obvious recognition of a horse's pedigree and a horse's breeding. Hopefully some progress can be made on more uniform medication rules worldwide, or else a way will have to be found to distinguish which rules a race was run under. Final question is, should we have one uniform system of grading races worldwide? It's a question which is often asked. And while ratings are the primary basis on which quality is assessed and are used very strongly in Europe, they're not the only one. And for example, North America and Canada have operated a very effective quality control system over the years without placing the primary emphasis on ratings. It seems to me that it would be difficult for IRPAC to be too prescriptive in this area, and rather IRPAC must concentrate more on satisfying itself that an appropriate system of quality control is in operation throughout the world, and that guidelines that are issued by IRPAC are being properly enforced by regions and by countries. So what conclusions can we draw from this? The first one, I think, is that significant progress has been made in the last 30 years in this area. However, that, as usual, simply means there's now much more work to do. The statistics would suggest that there are not too many graded races in the world, but that the number of non-graded black type races, which is double the number of graded races, may need some consideration. Against a backdrop of a declining foal population, the total number of flat race and a declining number of flat races, it will be difficult to argue for any further increases in the worldwide black type programme. There are certainly anomalies in the system, as I've said, and these are thrown up by the global focus, and the relative quality of Group 1 races worldwide will need to be considered. This may lead, as I said, to consideration of the need to review the categorisation of Group 1 races. And finally, IRPAC is now engaged very actively with its regional grading committees and racing authorities to review the guidelines that they operate and ensure that they're appropriate and are properly enforced throughout the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well done. I think it was a very well done presentation with a lot of informating news, and I think it shows the work which has been done over the past years. I remember when we started to extend the grading system, we started in Europe in the 1970s, and more than 40 years later, I think now we are implementing the system all around the world. It still has some challenges, as we've seen, but I think it's a fantastic work which has been achieved and which has been also supported by all the development in the international movement of horses that will be one of the subject of this afternoon's forum. But I think it's clear that the more international movement of horses we will have between the continents, the easier it will be to achieve this quality control and to have the equivalence of the races around the world. So thank you, Brian, for this very good presentation. So now we will make the usual presentation of some countries with two different countries. One fast developing country, Uruguay, and we have the great honor to have this presentation prepared by Dr. Jorge BATLLE, who is the former president of the Republic of Uruguay, which we are very happy to welcome. You all find on your table a very nice book on Uruguay and Maronias with a lot of nice photos which are showing you. And Dr. Battle has been the brain behind this reopening of Maronias, who closed and then reopened because he was in charge of that and he took the right decision. So please welcome Dr. Jorge BATLLE.
I don't start, I think. We start with the... I think so.
Okay, so can you send the video? We start with the video.
It's much better than myself.
Uruguay, a success story. Uruguay is a small country with a 3.3 million people population that stretches slightly over 176,000 square kilometers between Argentina and Brazil. The country is rich in prairies and beaches, and the port of its capital city, Montevideo, is the gateway to the Rio de la Plata. Horse racing in Uruguay is as old as the country itself, although horses already raced as early as the year 1816. Our official racetrack opened in 1889. The Jockey Club used to organize the races in Maronias until it broke down in 1997, leading to their interruption. Horse races were finally resumed on June 29, 2003, when the Uruguayan government got involved in the project. Maronias was granted a 30-year concession of the main national racetrack. In partnership with the Uruguayan government, a national integrated horse race system was developed and is implemented at various racetracks in the country: Las Piedras, Cerro Largo, Paysandú, Colonia, and of course, Maronias. Uruguay hosts over 1,700 races annually, with 9 horses per race as an average. 50,000 people make their living of this activity nationwide. There is a strong social commitment shared by the Uruguayan government and Maronias to train professionals so as to meet the needs of this industry's various activities. Since 2003, the stud book has increased its foaling rates by 48%, going from 1,281 to 1,897 heads. In that period, over 450 mares were imported from the USA, Europe, Argentina, and Brazil. Likewise, breeders have enriched the national genetic by incorporating stallions such as Real Quiet, Honor and Glory, Smarty Jones, Strategic Prince, and Alexander of Hales. From 2004 to 2013, the Uruguayan government and Maronias have raised the prize money from $2.85 to $16.2 million per year. An additional 6% benefits breeders of horses born in Uruguay. The percentage growth of wagering is highly positive, 263% from 2004 to 2012. Maronias and the Uruguayan government are committed with the standards set forth by International Federation of Horse Racing Authorities and their harmonization in the understanding that that is the right way to go. Several measures have already been adopted in that regard: anti-doping monitoring, implementing international standards, banning of medications at the group classics and listed races, banning of medications in races of 2-year-olds, traceability of the country's entire thoroughbred population through microchips, inserted free of charge and on a mandatory basis by the stud book. Use of the whip recommended by South American organizations for the promotion of the thoroughbred. Horse ratings are made accordingly with international grading and race planning advisory committee criteria. Our handicappers and authorities participate in regional and international congresses and meetings referred to rules harmonization and racehorses improvement. Over 20,000 races are imported yearly via simulcast from the most relevant racetracks: France, Ireland, Great Britain, USA, Singapore, Dubai, and Mexico. Uruguay was the first South American country to broadcast live offshore. Our country has welcomed stud farms from Argentina, Brazil, and Chile, including but not limited to De La Pomme, Abolengo, TNT, Philipson, Nahuel, La Esmeralda, La Cordillera, and international studs such as Shadwell Farm, who either settled with their own studs or in a partnership with local breeders. Dozens of professionals, trainers, and jockeys have disembarked in our lands. Maroñas opens its course to the races, even classics, to horses from other countries. In 2012, participated 13% of foreign horses. This is a success story with which we are committed through fulfilling the international standards, constantly improving the breeding of our horses, having an open race course, increasing the exchange of broadcasting and wagering, commitment with International Federation of Horse Racing Authorities and South American Organization for the Promotion of the Thoroughbred. And all of these efforts should take Uruguay back to Volume 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well done. A few words on the aspiration of Uruguay?
I am always aspiring for something, I don't know what. Sometimes we are ready to aspire for that if we accomplish a lot of things that we are committed to. But as you have seen, Mr. President, distinguished President, members of the Assembly, Uruguay is a very young country. We became an independent country in 1830. But it's very nice. We have good horses in the past and good jockeys, good trainers, and a lot of people who, as we, for instance, we start gaining some race in 1905, and we are still doing that on the same colors in the same area. But you can imagine in December 1854, just 24 years after our independence, on the local newspaper in Montevideo, El Comercio del Plata, published a note written in English announcing that horse races would be held on January 6th. Till today, the main race in Uruguay is January the 6th. The new Ituzaingó place, built by the Equestrian Montevidean Association, started in 1865. And in 1888 was granted a judicial solicitorship to the Montevideo Jockey Club, whose first race was held in Maroñas on February 3rd, 1889. And on February 3rd of 1889, the Jockey Club published in 1890 a nice issue with all the races, all the members of the club, and the jockeys. And one of these jockeys, Mr. President, whose name was an Italian one, Mr. Torterolo, Pio Torterolo, decided with his sons to come to Europe. He brought 2 horses from River Plate, participated in Ascot in a nice race, in the first category with arrival the third. And in 1926, they won the Grand Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe with the horse BB. The jockey was Mr. Domingo Torterolo, and this is the first issue I give to you, to the museum. The next year, Uruguayan government entrust the creation of the stud book of racing thoroughbreds to the Jockey Club. Mr. Young, Mickelson, and O'Neill gathered the original certification of the mares and horses, and the first volume of the Uruguayan stud book was published in 1895, and the stud book sent 2 samples of the mentioned publication to the Weatherby's firm in London. In 1900, the government issued a law approving foreign races in Montevideo, and the objective of the mentioned law was the improvement of the prices granted to the winning horses. As can be seen, both society and the state always work together with the purpose of consolidating an activity which represented, from the first days of our history, the enormous influence the horse had in its development, on economy, on war, and on sports. The oldest sport in Uruguay is racing horses, till today. Maroñas held races from 1989 until 1997 under the administration of the Jockey Club. It foreclosed due to its huge economic difficulties. The state reopened it, and a concession was called, which was finally granted to Hípica Rioplatense in order to reopen the hippodrome, again show its beauty, and to restart an activity which gives work opportunities to over 50,000 persons in the whole country. During the first years of its new historical time, Hípica Rioplatense and the state have worked together in order to carry ahead the application of the international regulations dictated by the International Federation of Horse Racing Authorities. Uruguay is a member of OSAF, and Uruguay considers that the way to allow us to consolidate our achievements as well as to grow entails the compliance with the international regulations. We ourselves, the breeders, agree to what has been done so far and have added a numerous group of mares imported from different markets, as well as stallions from Europe, United States, and Australia, which contribute to the enrichment of our genetic resources. At the same time, the Uruguayan Bank of the Republic has established credit lines which allow us to import mares and stallions from anywhere, and the Maroñas racetrack has set the levels those animals should have in order to receive the mentioned credit lines. During this year, the state and Hípica Rioplatense have reformed and modernized the racetrack of Las Piedras, opened in 1937, located 25 kilometers from the city of Montevideo in the province of Canelones. Furthermore, the state and Hípica have established a nationally integrated racing system which comprises Maroñas, Las Piedras, and 3 racetracks located in different provinces, Cerro Largo, Paysandú, and Colonia. This task has been carried out together by the state, Hípica Rioplatense, with the support of breeders and thoroughbred owners, making it possible for us to be again where we were before the Maroñas racetrack was closed. That means on volume 1, Mr. President, We were there from 1985 till 1992. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think you were a very good advocate for your country, and I'm sure that IRPAC has been impressed on the pictures, the growth of the country, of all the part of the activity in Uruguay. And I think you gave a good example, and I hope that next year we can have our former president of the country, Nicolas Sarkozy, making a presentation on France. So now we move to the last item before we go to our Longines Award presentation, and I will ask Dr. Sato to make a presentation on his fantastic racing and breeding country, Japan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for giving me this opportunity today to make this presentation. I thought the sun was to shine for the rising sun in the arc yesterday, but this is racing. The night is long, that never find the day. I was very much impressed winner, the French lady. Tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. I hope for our long-cherished dream to come true next year. Thank you very much. So, today I would like to talk on the theme, JRA moving forward together with our fans. Our passion for racing for our fans is clearly shown in this year's Japanese Derby, which marked its milestone 80th running. Please watch this video.
In the bond between man and horse is a drama unlike any other. That is Keiba. And at the pinnacle of Japanese horse racing is the Japanese Derby. The thoroughbreds that tear through these hallowed grounds are the very products of the blood, sweat, and tears of a long history. For the thoroughbreds themselves, shining on the stage is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Not to mention that only the chosen few, the elite, among several thousand thoroughbreds, are even given this chance at glory. Intense media coverage in the week leading up to this historical event draws the focus of the entire nation. Without question, this is the biggest and greatest of all horse racing events. A day of Tokyo Yushun, Japanese Derby. Fans from all over the country who've waited for this one special day stampede through the gates. Age, gender, status matters not. All that matters is the genuine love that the people feel for the Derby. And it's this very love and passion that made Keiba what it is today. The anticipation and excitement brewing among the people bursts in a flurry as the fanfare echoes throughout the track. Let the spectacle of dreams begin. The crowd goes wild, and the victor basks in endless showers of cheers. A moment born out of love and respect, out of the bond between man and horse. This is the perfect ending. And that is why this unparalleled drama will continue forever.
Thank you very much. This video focused on various fan first aspects on the 80th Japanese Derby. Now, I'd like to share some statistics on the Derby Day to further demonstrate our initiatives. This is the attendance at Tokyo Racecourse. Although it was not quite close to our record attendance, the number of attendance this year was the highest in recent years. Tokyo Racecourse, the biggest racecourse of JRA, has undergone several major grandstand renovations in need to accommodate the increasing number of fans attending this race. In 2007, the Fuji View grandstand was fully renovated to provide more comfort to all attending the races. It is 9 stories high, but there are no betting offices located on the 3rd floor. Instead, this floor is designed as modern and stylish avenue, which will also serve as an evacuation route in case of emergency. For your information, this is the main entrance of our Tokyo Racecourse, designed with reference to the entrance gate of Longines Racecourse. I have not asked for advance permission from the France Gallo, but I assume there will not be any violation of the intellectual property rights of Longines Racecourse. In recent grandstand renovations, we designed our parade ring to enable our fans to have a closer look at all the horses, as in many racecourses overseas. This is the area of our Hakodate racecourse, renovated in 2010, where our fans can see the horses going out to the track from the parade ring. This concept is also in the renovation plans of our Nakayama racecourse. This figure represents the total number of people at our off-track betting places. We have about 60 places all over Japan, and we have been improving the facilities of our off-track as well as our racecourses. These are so-called Excel seating, special pay seating area in some of our facilities where you can enjoy a day of racing at your own reserved seat. This is the design plan of a new type of off-track betting place, small in size, but designed to be easily accessible for fans and to have more flexibility in operation and management. This is the total number of people who use internet and telephone betting. The number of subscribers has increased by 1 million, turnover over $2 billion US compared to the figures of 10 years ago. From the year 2008 onwards, the turnover of internet and telephone betting has exceeded that of cash betting. This is due to new technologies, and we devoted our strategies to involve the emergence of new media. This is the total turnover of the day. The turnover for Derby alone is $237 million US, exceeding the figures of last year and the year before. We feel one of the major reasons for the increase is the improvement of processing ability of our automatic betting ticket issuing machines. Our machine can issue 22 tickets in 1 minute, and there are about 10,000 machines installed all over Japan. However, it seems undeniable that we have installed too many machines in some of our facilities, and therefore, as mentioned before, we are now looking at the operations being held in other countries to have more flexibility in our operation. 4 times more than in the past, we launched various events for promotion for this milestone 80th running of the Derby. This outlines everything we have done for the Derby. Through various media outlets, such as the TV program and TV commercials, trainers, and street campaigns, we showcase the best of our Derby throughout the week leading up to the Derby Sunday. We have focused on Derby exposure more than ever before. This is the total number of page views to our web page featuring the Derby. There were 740,000 unique users. Apart from this special web page, we uploaded special contents on our Facebook page, and all the figures to include the engagement rate were higher than what we had expected. This is the total number of sports and racing newspapers and tip sheets printed and published on Derby Day. All JRA-trained horses scheduled to race are required to be stabled at our training centers or race courses 10 days prior to the race. The training of horses is made open to various media, and these newspapers are printed every day full of updated information. This is the number of people who watch the Japanese Derby on television. The adult population of Japan is about 100 million people, which means about 5% watch the Derby live. In past Asian racing conferences, we have had many sessions on how to recruit new fan base. The main active fan base in Japan is people in their 50s. But from these statistics, we can see an increase in the number of younger viewers watching the Derby at home. With this evidence, we are reminded of the importance of promoting our race widely and effectively to arouse internet in the international sports entertainment we all love. This is the number of starters, which is 0.3% of the total whole born in 2010. From birth to reigning and racing, only these elite 18 horses, which survived all the tough stages as race horses, can run in the Derby. From 2012, our races for 2-year-olds are structured to emphasize from Derby to Derby. And starting from the week after the Derby, newcomer races will begin, and new generation will start aiming for the next Derby. This is the total number of races in 1 year, which is more or less the maximum legal limit of the number of races that can be held in 1 year. The race planning is based on the following 2 principles. One is to program the races to select the best breeding stocks for the future generations. The second is racing, other sports and gambling, has to attract maximum attention of our fans. Our race program is divided into several divisions according to different distance category in a tiered pyramid structure, which is very well received and supported by our fans. This is the average starters per race, and in group races, the average is 14.7, which I assume can be considered as the maximum limit. The pinnacle, as well as the starting point in structuring our racing program, is the Japanese Derby. And the Japan Cup is the race which has brought up the level of Japanese horses to international platform. These 2 races are considered as the 2 symbolic races of Japanese racing. Japan Cup will be held on November 24th this year. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to Tokyo next month. Wait a minute. Oh, sorry. This figure has nothing to do with the 80th Derby. This is the total number of trainees from all over the world who has participated in our ALF training program. This program started in 1966, and we have been hosting this for 47 years. We may accommodate trainees from countries apart from the ALF members for the general study program. Please feel free to contact us if you're interested in participating. Oh, I'm afraid I ran out of time. Thank you all for your time. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. This concludes this morning. So now you stay in the room, and we now move to the presentation of the IFHA Awards of Merit. I have a few technical arrangements to make. Don't worry. Up. I have to take that away. Can I give you that? Oops. Losing. Non, celui-là, je vais le laisser là-bas. Allez-y. So I would like you to give a very warm welcome to Mr. Juan Carlos Capelli. Many of you know him very well because they signed contract with him. He's the Vice President, Head of International Marketing of Longines, and he is our partner. We've been negotiating this contract together, which, as you can see, is very important for the Federation. You see now we only rely on Longines time. We took the risk of having two different clocks, but they look to have the same time, which is good news. On behalf of IFHA and all the delegation, I want really to welcome him. Many of you remember that Juan Carlos made a presentation at the conference 2 years ago, a very interesting presentation on their marketing strategy and what they were intending to achieve through their partnership with racing. I've been looking at the list of all their partnership, and I found 13 different countries. Well, I would say China and Hong Kong maybe are the same country. But I think it's very important. And there is nearly 40 days, 40 international days where they are the sponsor of the day, and an incredible number if you include all the racetracks where they are the timekeeper on these race courses. Now, as far as IFHA is concerned, as you can see, they are the official partner of IFHA, the official watch. They are also the partner of the Longines World Rankings, which we are promoting. As I told you, you saw it in the race cards yesterday with 2 pages, and I hope all the racing organizers in the world will promote these rankings when we will provide you with all the ratings for your big events. Andrew Chesser will be in charge of that. We also trying to show on the saddle cloth, as we done yesterday, the leaders in the world rankings, and we will have a very big celebration in Hong Kong at the gala dinner, where we're going to present Longines Award to the first 3 of the international classification, as you show in Brian's presentation earlier. The top 3 now are Black Caviar, with the champion sprinter around the world. Wijsdan, who's been the champion miler, even if he was beaten yesterday at Kinland. They moved from the tough track to the synthetic track, when Nick Nicholson was no more there. And the third was Novelist, and I'm sure there will be some change after the arc yesterday. So I just would like to thank Juan Carlos on behalf of all of you. I will have the pleasure of making a presentation to him at the dinner at the Fouquet's tonight. But now I give him the floor.
Merci beaucoup. Monsieur le Président, Monsieur le Vice-Président, Dear Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear partners of the media, we would like to thank our partner, the International Federation, for giving us the opportunity to present today the Longines involvement in equestrian sports. Longines passion for equestrian sport dates back from 1878, when we produced a chronograph engraved with a jockey and his mount. Seen on the racetracks as early in 1881 in New York already. Among jockeys and horse lovers, this model enables its user to time performance to the second. Today, Longines has entered into various partnerships. As the official timekeeper, has a lot of race courses around the world, in flat racing events, but also in show jumping and also in endurance competitions. We are proud to have become the official partner and the official watch of the International Federation of the Horse Racing Authorities, as well as the official partner of the Longines World's Best Racehouse Rankings. Additionally, as you know, our brand also signed this year an important contract with the International Federation of Equestrian Sport. It's a great honor for us to present today, together with you, the first International Award of Merit. And we'd like to thank you once again, our partner, especially you, Mr. Romanet, for the work done in that context. As we said, flat racing represents our first historical activity in equestrian sport and in timing also. Today, our commitment to flat racing includes some of the most famous and legendary meetings in the world, as the Prix de Longines, the Dubai World Cup, Royal Ascot, the Qatar Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, the China Equine Cultural Festival, the Emir Trophy presented by Longines, the Longines Singapore Gold Cup, the Melbourne Cup, the Longines Handicap de las Americas, the Longines Liga Tesio Race, the Grosse Preis von Baden-Baden, the Longines Hong Kong International Races, and the Triple Crown in US, including the traditional Kentucky Derby. And new partnerships are coming soon in South America and in Asia. And you said a few minutes ago that we are present in 13 countries, but I think in the next few weeks, it will be more than 20. And now, I would like to show you a movie presenting our overview activity in the equestrian sport.
Le son. Le son. Oh, arrêtez-le, remettez-le le son. Oui. Il est où le gars? Excuse us. It was too perfect this morning.
Longines, and I'm talking about Longines as a member of the Swatch Group family, is very proud, very happy, and very honored to be in the position to be the first top partner of the FEI.
This is a very proud day for the FEI and for our 132 national equestrian federations around the world.
I think the connection of the Longines Ladies Award with the Prix de Diane Longines race here at Chantilly is a very obvious connection because it's a celebration of fillies, and also the races historically is always a celebration of the elegance of women being able to dress up and enjoy the day.
So thank you for preparing this film for us, which is showing very impressively how you support the equestrian world. And I think it's a unique partnership. So when we negotiated our contract, we proposed to Longines the creation of our International Award of Merit. In order to honor the personality, we will have left his mark on the racing season and during his career at international level. The jury who made this choice is composed of myself, the 3 vice chairmen of IFHA, Winfried Brecht, Brian KAVANAGH, and Jim Gagliano, and Mr. Juan Carlos Capelli. As you can imagine, the 5 of us have very different personalities, but we very easily became unanimous to present this award to the Master of Culcullen in Ireland, Mr. Jim BOLGER. Jim took his license. Jim took his license in July 1976, 37 years ago. Not only does he train, but he also breeds and owns the vast majority of his horses. He keeps 80 broodmares at his own Redmondstown stud, and he has about 100 horses in training. As Jim says, I make the environment as nice as possible to suit the temperaments of the animals as well as the humans. Jim trained 22 Group 1 winners who won 40 Group 1 races. He bred most of them, and he will sold some of them, like the Irish Derby winner Soldier of Fortune. He also identifies some of the horses he bred as potential champion sire, like Teofilo and New Approach. Another tool on Jim BOLGER's side is the company Equinome. He helped found with Dr. Emmeline Hill, the award-winning geneticist. Nobody knows better than him how to identify the specific genes for 2-year-old types, sprinter, milers, and stayers, and he considers it as an invaluable help for training purpose. Trading Leather's success this year in the Irish Derby was remarkable for the fact that he was the breeder and the trainer. Even more remarkably, he also bred both the sire and the dam of Trading Leather, while the colt is owned by his wife, Jockey, and was ridden to victory at the Currow by his son-in-law, Kevin Manning. As you can see, it was a family affair. Jim BOLGER this year also brought back to victory Down Approach in the St. James Palace Stakes after a tough race in the Epsom Derby, following his success in the 2000 Guineas. Jim has also an incredible record as educator of people, like the 18 times English national hunt champion Tony McCoy, and 2 Irish champion trainers, Aidan O'Brien, who spent 3.5 years with him, and Willie Mullins, who spent 2 years with him. Jim BOLGER is a typical Irishman, which for me means he is a modest and respectful person. And he has also a great sense of humor. Jim has made a huge impact on the horse racing industry as a trainer, as a breeder, as an owner, and as an educator, and nobody deserves the first Longines and IFHA International Award of Merit more than him, and we will now show you a short film which was specially prepared for this occasion by Horse Racing Ireland, thanks to our Vice Chairman, Brian KAVANAGH. Please send the video with sound.
And it's not Nash's, it's going to be $1 million for Jim BOLGER. What a year!
He was born into a Wexford farming family with no involvement in racing. He built a bloodstock empire out of an idea and a vision. He won the top prizes in the world of thoroughbred racing. He did it all the Jim BOLGER way. Jim began training horses in Dublin in the late 70s, but as his operation grew, he and his wife Jockey moved to Coolcullen in County Kilkenny, where he still trains today.
It worked well from the word go, because the first year we were here we had Give Thanks and Flame of Tara. Any 3-year-old group races in Ireland or England that they didn't win, I think the only one we didn't win was the Epsom Oaks. And we didn't run in that, but I think we won most of the others that year.
His early good horses were fillies. He did very well with them. The thing about them too, that he raced them fairly frequently with success. You know, he didn't have to space the races out much. He seemed to be able to pull them out fairly quickly again for another run, and they still performed well.
I think he was the first to appreciate, or one of the first anyway, the advantage of what we'll term hill training. And certainly for flat horses, he was one of the first to do it. There's no doubt at all about that.
In 1992, Jim proved he was not just a filly trainer. His colt, Saint Jovite, demolished the Irish Derby field, smashing a course record that still stands today.
In the Budweiser Irish Derby, a sensational performance. Christine White was the last one allowed for the Cathay Pacific Hong Kong Cup.
One horse that did all that Jim asked of her and exceeded all expectations was Alexander Goldrun. Over her career, she won 5 Group 1 races.
Bullish lap drives, missed. Alexandra Goldrun held on to win by a head.
Before long, Jim's breeding operation began to take form and has grown to a phenomenal scale.
You know, most of us just train racehorses, and it's such a time-consuming job we couldn't contemplate doing anything else or having a breeding enterprise as well. And of course, Jim has developed a significant breeding enterprise. That's a huge undertaking and a huge risky undertaking. But no bother to Jim, you know, he takes those risks in his stride.
Jim had followed Galileo's racing career. Impressed with what he saw, he was looking forward to his retirement to stud. John Magnier still credits Jim Bolger for discovering the horse and putting him on the stallion map. One of the horses Jim bred by Galileo was Teofilio, an exceptional 2-year-old. Unbeaten in his juvenile season, he was champion European 2-year-old, a horse with huge potential as a top sire. Intense Focus, trained by Jim, was one of the first stallions to go to stud with his genetic profile completed. Jim's lifelong interest in the science of breeding has led to his involvement in a revolutionary new genetic breakthrough and the development of the company Equinome.
I think if you were to ask him honestly, the breeding is what he enjoys most. And when he trains a homebred winner, it definitely gives him the most satisfaction. There's no doubt about that.
From his yard in County Kilkenny, Jim employs over 100 staff and has 129 horses in training. In his career to date, Jim has won 9 classics, 42 Group 1 races and has amassed over €32 million in prize money.
He's a traditional nationalist, I suppose, in the proper sense of the word, a patriot insofar as, you know, love of country and love of place and love of language. The tangible side of that is in the creation of employment in rural areas. That's the proper type of national spirit that we need in the country.
When Jim was asked to train a filly called Finchgale Bio in 2007, things got even better. Finchgale Bio tried to make history the same year by trying to win 3 1,000 guineas in England, France and Ireland. The attempt was foiled in Longines by Dargina's Head. In 2007, Jim bought Galileo's offspring, the filly, Lush Lashes.
And Lush Lashes and Kevin Manning over on the far side.
In 2008, she won the Goffs Millions, the only horse to win €1 million race on her first outing. She went on to win 3 Group 1 races.
New approach coming there on the inside, Tartan Bear of the
2008 saw Jim in record-breaking mode. He went to Epsom, winning the English Derby with New Approach. They then went on to win the Champion Stakes at Newmarket, breaking the course record. For a man with a reputation for fillies, Jim had produced 3 top-class colts: Teofilio, Intense Focus and New Approach.
Clearing the guineas, Gloria White's running a blinders, Tornado runs out of pop.
2013 also proved to be a year to savour. The New Approach colt, Dawn Approach, running in Sheikh Mohammed's Godolphin colours, emulated his sire by winning the 2,000 guineas at Newmarket before producing a scintillating run in the St James's Palace Stakes at Royal Ascot. Jim's career continues to go from strength to strength. 2013 got even better when Teofilio's son, Trading Leather, secured Jim's 2nd Irish Derby at the Curragh Racecourse.
The human being, Jim Bolger, is just not a trainer. He does a lot of good for a lot of people, inside and outside of our industry. So there's more to Jim Bolger than just being a racehorse trainer.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jim and Jockey Bolger. few words, Jim. I will hand it for you.
Never more than a few. Mr. Romane, Mr. Capelli, ladies and gentlemen, I'm deeply honoured to accept this award here today, and I'm actually overwhelmed by the occasion. I had no idea that I would ever win an award such as this. I've got some in my home country. I've got some outside my own country, but this one, as I said, I'm really overwhelmed. And it's been a wonderful weekend of racing here, and I'd like to congratulate my competitor at times on her terrific victory yesterday, and to congratulate the French on producing such a good filly. And it was nice again to see a trainer who had a hand in the breeding of the filly win the race. I realised the importance of all the international bodies coming together to discuss our industry, both the breeding and the racing, and I'm sure nothing but good can come from your deliberations. And I'm extremely grateful to all the professionals and to the media who work in racing for less reward than we more commercial types get. Thank you very much.
Now we will break for lunch. 45 minutes should be enough for you. Thank you, and see you later. And thank you, Jim.